Get in frame. Let me do this very quickly because I did this. I put it up on Bit Chute. It's impossible to get through this and not violate the YouTube terms of service or threaten violence, even humorously. The algorithm doesn't know that you're trying to be funny. God, Jesus, gotta get through this. I don't think so. This is so. Trans swimmers' teammates reveal they're often uncomfortable in the locker room because a biological male is naked in the ladies' room. They're naked biological females, and this is a naked biological male with a twig and berries. This is just peak Weimar. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole Germany thing from 80 odd years ago. Kind of World War One kind of continued, and then you had the Weimar kind of dissolution in the banks and the media and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it's just history is just kind of repeating itself. So it's definitely awkward because Leah still has male body parts. Well, his whole body's a male body part, and is still attracted to women. I guess what they're saying there, if I can read in between the lines, is something that was flaccid is becoming tumescent, rigid. I don't know what the opposite of flaccid is. Perky, I guess, becoming awake. So his twig and berries is just dangling around, which, you get out of that cold water. It must be warm in the locker room. I don't know. Cold water is not kind to men. So he's in the locker. He's a biological male. I'm not trying to, correctly gender him. Even how they, this is how the Bolsheviks, they control the language so well. They go, oh, you're not misgendering that person, are you? No, you fucking retard. I'm correctly gendering. It's a biological male, so I'm using male pronouns. Oh, well, you should use their pronouns. But that's my speech. You're asking me to compel, you're trying to get me to speak in your words and thought. I don't want you to control my thought. I don't want to be forced to, I don't want you to compel my speech. Why would I give up that amount of power to you? Because they're a bunch of Bolsheviks. You might as well just bring on the war and get all this stuff over with. This is just like the emperor has no clothes, and eventually you're going to have to, like, these people, okay, these chicks, they're in this prestigious university, I guess. I don't know anything about the universities. They don't want to get kicked out. They also don't want negative attention on social media. The internet is forever. They don't want to be known as troublemakers. And if this globalist new world order is going a certain way, it's like they don't want to ultimately get put in a gulag. It's like, you're not worried about that yet, but it's not impossible. I mean, you look at how Russia started, how China or the creeping authoritarianism of Central American countries, Southeast Asian countries, even North Korea. It kind of happened all at once. All over the world, Cuba and other little shithole island countries, this creeping authoritarianism where if someone would refer to Fidel Castro, they'd stroke their chin to indicate, a beard, because they want the secret police to arrest them. I mean, that's probably a ways away, but you don't want you want to be careful to have your name attached to something, because now all of a sudden it's like you want to be a social media personality, because if some chick on this, and honestly, it's like if one of those chicks on the team was good looking and kind of well spoken, it would, and the thing is, you'd have to be right of center probably, because you don't want to be in the middle on the fence, because then both sides hate you. You have to be right of center. And it would be a thing to do, because then you'd become a social media personality. And then even social media platforms like Twitter, they're suddenly in the position of like, okay, there's some Jane Doe comes out, she goes public and she says, hey, listen, we're swimmers. We can't have this guy, biological male, who's swimming with us and he's naked in the locker room. Biological women need their own safe space. Well, now your social media personalities, they have to give you a blue check mark, because if they don't, it makes the bias look like really, really obvious. They've done that before in Twitter occasions where public figures on the left came out, they instantly got blue check marks. And then ones on the right came out and they hesitated, and people had to make a fuss and say, hey, listen, you're giving this left-wing guy a blue check mark, but you're not giving these other guys blue check marks. And then eventually they acquiesce and give them the check mark. My point is, if you're a chick on these teams, it's not the worst thing to come out and actually talk about it. They say they don't want their name associated with the Google search. Fair enough, but you've got a biological male swimmer who's just dominating the swim meets left and right, and then he's naked in a locker room. So get in. If nobody does anything, then it just continues. And this is where I got in trouble last time. I made a joke about, I'm not even going to make a joke about, Oh, fuck me. This is just impossible to get through without saying anything about anything. So, yeah, you're saying, listen, you should just come out and say, there's got to be, why doesn't he just go in the biological men's room? That's how we've always done it before. Why do we even have men's and women's rooms and locker rooms in the first place? Why not just have one big open locker room? Because if we have these rooms for a purpose, for a reason, because we don't want women to be preyed on by men. And you go, oh, well, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Yeah, but if it does, usually there's a presumption that back in the day, if a man was in a ladies' room, it would be somewhat, some presumption would be, you'd go some steps with that evidence to meeting the burden of proof of saying they were there for some malicious behavior. But now you've removed that legal step with this trans everything. So now you have men in the women's room, and it's not like a woman can just pull out a pepper spray and pepper spray some guy in the men's room. It's like, oh, well, he identifies as a woman. What are you supposed to do? I mean, the stuff you're doing. Listen, I hate women as much as the next person, but this kind of stuff is like, this is freaking bizarre. And this is like coming from other women who painted themselves into this corner. You got to remember, there's a big percentage. I'm just kidding. I hate women. There's a big percentage of women who support this stuff. And, well, I don't hate women. I do think they're kind of fluffer-brained. Like, the 19th Amendment was definitely a mistake, because they will vote themselves into feelings and feelings and feelings and feelings. And then that's kind of what men are for, to say, like, hey, yeah, you're voting yourself into something that's going to get you in trouble. You keep feeding the grizzly bear puppies. Well, eventually the mom's going to come around and maul you. You can't feed the coyotes. You can't feed the wolves. You can't feed the mountain lions. You gotta, like, women just kind of feel and don't. Oh, this is going to get me in trouble for you too. I don't think there's any chicks listening to this. I love women, but like, there's these two bell curves, and it's not like men on average are geniuses. They're just slightly to the right of women. But you've got these decision-making abilities, and you make just enough decisions over time. Men make the more careful, prudent decision over time, and women make the more feeling-based decision over time. It's like, it's where they balance each other out. You've got to have men and women, grandfathers, grandmothers, great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers. You have to have a family core structure, and it's always going to be patriarchal, but you're going to have a balance of powers. But it's just that men make better decisions slightly. It's like, you're talking like, oh, is a men make better decisions on average 52% of the time, and women make them 48% of the time. But whatever, it's like these slight things, they add up, and over time, all these iterations, you've got. If you have women making decisions, you have stuff like this. You have biological men in the women's room. If you have men making decisions, you saw, like, if you look at an electoral map, you see men of European descent make decisions. It's all red, because they make better decisions, and red decisions are better decisions. So, and focus. All right. Anyway, it's just impossible to get to talking about, Weimar Germany conditions in America. That it's like the same situations are presenting themselves, and it's just impossible to talk about on YouTube, because the censorship on YouTube is off the hook. Thank God for Odyssey, Bit Chute, Telegram. Discord is kind of worthless, I'm discovering. We're on the 4th Discord now because of censorship. I get the new Discord, and someone immediately comes in the Discord and says, let me be the first to call basic a slur for bundles of sticks. I'm like, this is how we lose the Discord. I'm just kidding. It's like, I already have the 5th and 6th Discord set up and waiting in the wings. I should have like a mailing list. That's just not a bad idea. Like a mailing list of people who are kind of vetted. Nice try, FBI. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.